4, 3, 2. Okay, and here we go. Good afternoon, everyone. I think it's almost afternoon in everywhere, except Australia, which is always different. I'm Omar Mohammed, a historian from Mosul and the founder and director of Mosul Eye, currently serving as a consultant, recovery consultant for UNESCO. Today we have distinguished speakers, really distinguished speakers, inspiring speakers. We have Jean Morel, who is the director of Art in Space. Thank you for joining us. We have Paolo Petrocelli, the General Director of Stafford, or I thought it's German name, Center for Strengths. And we have Yusur Muqdad, a musician and an activist. We have Jean from Paris, Paolo in Roma.
In Cremona today.
Yes, and Yusur from Mosul. Myself is connected to the 3 cities, so I always identify Mosul, Paris, and Rome. As we discussed, I don't usually do introductions of the speakers. I feel it's much better that they do it themselves. Therefore, I will start with you, Jean Morel.
Okay. So, hello, everyone. Thank you very much, Omar, for this warm invitation and for your trust. And I'm really happy and glad to meet you, Yusur and Paolo. Thank you and congratulations for your poetry, this necessary poetry of in the gravity of the world, this necessary lightness. And hello to all those who joined us today. So my name is Jeanne Morel. I am the director of the Art in Space Laboratory, but I don't work alone. I work with my partner, with Paul Marlier, who is an architect and digital artist. And we are normally working in extreme or atypical land, atypical terrains, like under the sea, in high mountains, on the volcano, but also in microgravity with the space agencies. And we are also working in old monuments classified as World Heritage by UNESCO, monuments which have also suffered, which have aged and which carry the memory of time. So I dance. For me, it's my language. As I said to Yusur before, I think that she saved my life. She's my best friend. For me, it's the best way to speak about the present. It's maybe the allegory of the living. And I use it to speak about the instant. It's maybe a way to restore life where in a place which is destroyed or frozen. And it's a way for me to speak about the fragility, my fragility as human being, but also the fragility of the environment where the dance takes part. And I don't work alone, so I dance, and Paul Marlier is collecting my biometrics data to create imprint of the instant and to show this relationship between the fragility of humanity and the fragility of the monuments where I'm dancing, or the environment, or the earth. And it's a dialogue between humanity and space. And I can say a lot more things, but maybe I will give you the...
Thank you so much for this introduction, which has already enriched the discussion. Paolo?
Hey everyone, so thank you for having me. Very pleased to have this beautiful conversation with you guys, and of course with the people that are kindly following us in this live streaming. So this is Paolo. I'm connected from Italy. Today I'm in the beautiful city of Cremona. Cremona is near Milan, so we are in the north of Italy. And maybe you heard about Cremona because it's known as the city of violin, because hundreds and hundreds of years ago, some artisan actually created what we know today as the violin, and not just the violin, all the other strings instruments. So it's a city full of history, full of heritage, as many cities, of course, around Italy and Europe. But here especially, we are day after day facing history and understand how we can actually project this heritage, this history, this tradition into the future. I'm talking from a very special place. You see a beautiful photo here in the background. This is a photo, but actually the real room, and it's existing, is just on a floor up here. Oh. Yeah, it's real, and it's here. And there's a music center, Stauffer Center for Strings, that I am directing. Is a very special place. It's an historical building that has been restored by a private foundation, the Stauffer Foundation. So they bought this beautiful palace, which was abandoned. They completely restructured it and converted it into a music campus, which today is basically hosting so many different activities for talented musicians coming from all over the world. So what I would like to share with you guys later today is also this experience, and maybe others also I'm involved, which are bringing together heritage, arts, education, and the future generations. How we can actually, find a way to connect the past with the present, project it into the future, and see how the new generations through arts can make a difference.
Thank you so much, Paolo. The place behind me is not real. It's Yusuf.
So I'm really thankful for this event that I meet you guys. I'm Yusuf Muqdad. I'm a musician, songwriter, and composer also. And in the quite last years, I am a teacher, music teacher also, and I have a real piano behind me. So yeah, this room, I teach in it. So yeah, maybe I can talk a little bit about my my thing about how I compose music, because it's hard here to start composing music because I'm not educated in music, so I started music by my own, and it was a hard way that I didn't have any teacher, because here in Mosul we don't have a place that we can learn music from. So I think that my project in teaching music is very important here, because the way that we can change people by art, just like you said, Paolo, and music. So yeah, I think that it's really good to know how art and music can do for people.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. While I was preparing for this event, there were many questions coming to my mind, but 2 days ago, I met with a person who's specialized in what he called the psychology of architecture. And we had like an over 2 hours discussion about how can we think differently about the space in which we are living, which is connected to the time, people, whether during the time of war or post-war, and as well the time of peace. But these buildings are still the same buildings, while they witnessed too many different events. Mosul is now under recovery, and part of the recovery of the cultural heritage of the city is a project run by UNESCO to reconstruct historic houses. And you mentioned, Paolo, that you are sitting in a building that was not completely used, was not renovated, but now it is a place you are running. It is a place that is producing music. It's a place that is discussing the history of the music. How can we deal with similar, different contexts of different city, but in a different time, in a different space, such as Mosul? How can we treat the space beyond its physical recovery?
That's for me. Yeah, okay. So, let me use this example here. This place was basically destined to be abandoned and disconnected from the city of Cremona, which is, in the end of the day, a small city of 70,000 people. So it's not a big city. And having a big palace in a small city, which is basically abandoned, is not really the best. No? So you have a 2,000 square meters palace that was not used for the last 15, 20 years. And the municipality was not going to buy it. So it was really up to the private sector to take action. And this is what happened here. So a private foundation that decided to invest in a physical space, in an historical physical space. And it was not just about acquired the building. It was actually to put money to reconstruct the overall building. So it was a double investment, the acquisition plus the restoration of the building. We're talking about millions of euros. So first of all, of course, we need to understand, if we talk about heritage, if we talk about historical buildings, in order to preserve them and in order to make them alive, still alive, we need investments, that's for sure. And of course, we don't have to be, we can't be naive by pretending that it's just up to the public sector to take care of the cultural heritage. This is not possible, especially in countries where you are full of cultural heritage everywhere, like in Italy. It's just not sustainable for the state to take care of everything. So first point is, what about the private sector? How we can engage the private sector? Here in Cremona, we were lucky because this foundation, its mission is to support and promote music and culture. So it was part of their mission also to have an headquarters. Step two, okay, we restore the building. Now it's back to life, but it's really going to play a role in the community, how the space is going to serve the community. Because it's not just about saying, okay, now this building is so beautiful, back again, and we maybe have some visitors in time to time, and we do some events in time to time, let's see. No, of course, you really need to give an identity to the space, to the building, no? And especially when you give new life to an historical building, you also have to give a new identity to the space. And this is what we did here. We basically created a music center, absolutely created for young musicians. So the idea was also, let's bring back to life this building through the participation, through the involvement of young musicians. And this gives a perspective, and I will stop here. It gives a direction. It's not just about bringing back to life an historical place. It's also connecting new energy and project this project into the future, potentially for the next 50, 60, who knows, years. So it's really to launch a very, let's say, structured project. So we also need, of course, a vision. We need values, we need objectives, along with investments. And all these should make a difference, a real difference. We need to have a reason why we have to put so much money and energies in these big ventures. And the reason is the future of ours, the future of our children, the future of music, the fact that all of these will benefit in the really end, the society.
Thank you, Paolo. This is a very important perspective indeed. Jean, you are a dancer, and dancing is not just about the movement, but about the timing of every move, of every motion.
Mhm.
A building is a frozen or might seem to be frozen, but it has witnessed thousands of motions and movements. We are now reconstructing historic houses that have been built in the 18th century. And since the time they were built, millions of motions were created. We don't necessarily see them, but how can we trace back all of these motions by recreating a different life, a different way of thinking and imagination about this space that can become not only a contributor to the stability of our present, but also to create a different imagination for the future generations, because they will see it completely differently than we do.
Yes, I think it's really interesting to see monuments as the earth, for example, because we are all in a ballet, in a great ballet. We move. Einstein said that nothing happens until something moves. The movement, it's the life. So we are now at this time turning around the sun and turning on the earth. So we are dancing. And this movement, it's our prints in the time. But in monuments, it's the same. It's a story between past, present, and future. And we have to use this movement to create the future together. And I think when we are dancing or playing music in a place, in an old place, in time of war, it could be a destroyed place, and it's of course horrible. But it also could be an old place. When we dance or when we play there, we also going back its grace, its soul, its breath to the monuments. And maybe we have to think about this universal dance to create new cities, because the most important thing is our story as human beings, our movement, when we are speaking together, when we go together in a small place, when we go together in the park. This is our movement. And even if the city is destroyed, the people are alive, they are living there. So it's an architecture, a new one, but it's the imprint of humanity.
Fascinating. Yusur, in the archaeological sites, the ruins, destroyed sites, and even history itself is one of the most silent spaces, but at the same time is one of the loudest ones. I mean, they are very loud when they speak, but it's always silent. A building is silent, but we have the river in Mosul, and imagining all of these inspiring moments and the places and the time itself, despite how difficult, as you say, it is to produce music in Mosul, yet you managed to break that silence and create the music. How can your music recreate or reincarnate, if we can say it this way, the life inside those places that are being recovered and restored?
I think that when you go in any place, it has a different. You get a different sounds, and even if you played in a place, the same thing, the same composition. If you played it in a different places, you will get a different feelings, because the weather and then the room or the feelings of the walls. I don't know. I think that places inspired us to create music. That's indeed. So I think that we can make, I don't know, we can make a album in these places, we can create music in these places and record the music in these places, and we give it like, if I want to transfer my Mosul to the world, I will try to create the feelings when I'm in Mosul. So, or when I'm in these historical places. So I think that's the way from me to present my music to the world in Mosul.
Amazing, thank you, Yusuf. Paolo, back to you. And you mentioned a very important point about the role of the private sector that can play in enhancing the cultural space, the cultural heritage space, and create a more sustainable way. But beside the private sector and beside the enterprises and entrepreneurship, when we speak about cultural heritage, we also have a problem. Is how can we convince the young generation that what we are talking about is important, that what we are reconstructing is important, what we are trying to protect is important, but they always ask the question like, important for what? And what importance does it bring to me? What type of language should we use when we talk to the young generation to tell them that what's happening in Mosul now is as important as a concert is taking place in Philharmonie de Paris, or in the Opera of Rome, or in Madrid, or around the world? Like, how can we make this relevant to them?
Yeah, that's big challenge, we know. And I think that all of us, we are experiencing this in our countries, in our areas, in different or similar ways. How to engage the youngsters, the new generations in this mission. Let me share a few inputs quickly. First of all, I think that they need to share the mission. It's not just about explain the mission. It's not just about, teach them. It is actually to join forces. They have to play a role. They have a role. They have both a responsibility, but also an opportunity. We need to basically, define the rules of the game together with the new generations. Of course, they will never ever feel involved, attracted by doing something if we are just saying, okay, this is the place, this is our mission, this is important, you have to do it. Also, I wouldn't be so excited, maybe, I want to be involved in a project where I can express myself, where I can feel comfortable, when I, of course, can learn, can share, but also can give. So we need to create platforms, cultural platforms, where it's not just about a certain generation, but it's about an intergenerational collaboration. And I think this is the key. And again, going back to my country, to Italy, I think we are struggling in doing so. I see still many cultural organizations, mostly in general, the institutions, the government, saying culture is important. You guys have to go to the opera. You guys have to go to the museum. And yeah, we will try to have the discounted ticket. We will try to do some TikTok videos so that maybe we are going to convince you. It's not just about that. It's not just about opening a TikTok channel for an opera house. Or it's not just saying with €1, no, you know what, is free, come. It's not about, actually, we need to convince them to spend some money, of course, what they can afford, but it's not about convincing them that, it's free and you just come and you will see that maybe you will learn something. No, the message should be, come because we need you, come because we can share this experience. To conclude, what I see here, as I was saying, this place is an historical building, and when you enter, we are trying to make the space comfortable. I mean, meaning that it's not a museum. You can go around and maybe feel connected with the environment. Why? Because also we installed some elements of contemporary design in this very historical building. And this is also important, not to bring some of the present into the historical building, so that is not really just a place of the past. But beside making the space comfortable, is really, we have the opportunity, of course, we can do always like that, but the opportunity we had here is, guys, this place is for you. This place is for young people. Enjoy it. Just, make music here, express yourself here. So, of course, you can do this in every historical and cultural building. But I think, to conclude, the key is not just about talk with the young generation, is to make things together.
So it is a democratic process when we build the idea of how cultural heritage can work for our future. It's not just, as you said, they are not just receivers of the ideas. They should be joint forest. They should be included in the discussion, in the policy making.
Exactly. Let me, Omar, sorry, let's always have a young member in the board of directors, qualified, wherever, prepared, with some experience, but let's give them a space and let's, with them, understand how to convince more young people. But, most of the time you have a senior management of 50, 60, 70 years old pretending to talk and engage and use the same language of a generation of 40 years less. How you can do it? Just looking for 2 minutes TikTok and trying to connect on TikTok? No, this is not the way. It's about involving the youngsters in the policy, in the strategy, in the mission.
That's correct. Jean, while we are looking at the city being destroyed by war and terrorism, etc., I always believe that there is a space for creativity, for something that is beyond the physical structure, as the title of the event says. The idea of dancing with the cultural heritage itself is very important to bring life to space in Mosul. But there is always, as we just discussed with Paolo, there is always a challenge to not just convince the young generation, but also the creative and the inspiring people who are holding these ideas inside, and they are afraid of saying them. They are afraid of expressing themselves. I'm pretty sure that there are many of those young generation who wants to say something, who want to express. What is the message that we should give them?
And they have a lot of things to say. And as Paolo said, I think the key is to be confident, to give them place, to trust them, not just to say, okay, you have to come, you have to play, but just to also to give them the time to do. We are living in a moment that we don't have the time, and maybe we are quite shy and we would like to create, but we need a place, we need the time to be confident, and we have to help them for that. In Art in Space, we are also working with young generation and also with people with disabilities. And I really have the feeling that they can dance. Of course, the body can't, but they can feel and imagine their own dance, maybe their own music. So we are working with the scientific center here in Paris to make some, to put some captures on the body and on the brain, and to create a space, a dance also for these people. And I think that we have to trust and we have to encourage, but also to sometimes to think that we can be, if we are sure, if we are artists and we are not shy now, we have to let some place to these people and to help them to take the place. And maybe it's not easy in Paris, in Italy, maybe in Mosul, I don't know Mosul, but there is some elite, and it's not easy for everybody to be an artist. But I think that there are a lot of people who have something to say, and we have to help them in our future cities.
Thank you, John. It's indeed many people have their own experience of the emotions and the creation of, as you said, like it's not necessarily someone who can dance, but they dance in their own brain and imagination. It's which can inspire them to create a completely different idea, not necessarily what we are talking and discussing here, but it is the space of imagination and inspiration.
Yes, and as you said before, dance is movement, of course, but I think it's not just movement. It's also, and maybe it's more than ever, feelings.
Yes.
It's what do you feel at this moment? And music is the same. And as you said, Yusur, for me, it's the same thing. My dance is an improvisation because it's a connection with the environment. And it's not the same if I am on the opera or in the forest or in a destroyed place. It's all about feelings.
Definitely. Yusur, you are one of the leading in the young generation of Mosul and Iraq. You produce music, you compose music, but you also teach it to kids.
Yeah.
You are experiencing these difficulties and challenges, but you are managing also to make this happen. How is it possible, and what are the lessons that we can learn to develop? If you were, as Paulo said, if you were on the committee of the Young Council to advise the policymakers while they are reconstructing the cultural heritage, physically, the cultural heritage of Mosul, what would you tell them to take your music more seriously, to make it part of the recovery structure itself?
Well, first of all, I think that music in Mosul is new thing, even though there's a lot of artists that was in Mosul and became an artist, but they left the city after. When I start music, I was in Mosul and there was no one to know. There's no musician to meet there. As difficulties came because this is new for the people here to hear music and to see a girl, especially a girl playing music in different places, in public spaces. So this was difficult to make it happen, but people need to see there's someone that different from them, but it's not bad. So maybe they can be with this person. And when I started the project of teaching music, there's a lot of people that they liked to came, but their families didn't like it because here in Mosul there's they don't like music so much. The old generations. So all of my students is this new generations that wanted to learn music, want to change the spirit of the city. So especially that I'm so happy that I think almost my student is girls. So that is a big challenge here to have these girls that want to learn music and try to make their parents accept that and encourage them to be a one. So yeah, I think that there's a lot of hope here, but all we need is to show people that there is people that live in Mosul and do this. So it's not bad, or it's not hard. You can do it. Only just do it. So my students always have a lot of energy, and sometimes they gave me this energy. Sometimes I don't have energy to give them, and they gave me the energy to go and give them back. So yeah, I think that if we continue in this way and maybe do a lot of things, that the people will like it after all. I'm sure of that.
Definitely, and I hope you will be able to have your own school of music, Yusuf.
Yeah.
You see, Paolo, here is one of the other challenges. In the cultural heritage sphere, we think about heritage and other values as universal. That's true, but the challenges are not universal. And you heard what Yusuf was saying. The challenge might not be completely the lack of, let's say, funding in a creation of such a beautiful project of teaching music to kids, but rather is the social challenges. And then we have policies that can apply, were created to be applied universally, but then when you apply them on certain contexts, they are not applicable. How can we deal with this type of situation? Again, by having more conversations with the distant world, if we can call it this way, with the spaces that we haven't explored yet.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that, this brings me to my mind, this point where, I always try to analyze. I live in a country where we are always complaining about the others. In Italy, it's always fault of the politician, it's always the fault of the government. It's not my fault. I am just a citizen. I expect I pay taxes. I pretend everything, And this attitude actually, in a certain way, is the attitude that a lot of members of the artistic community around the world have, I do art. That's it. That's my role in society, I play the violin, I play on the stage, that's my part. Well, this is just little, I think, what artists can do off the stage. How you as a musician, as a dancer, as a writer, as an actress, wherever, you can do outside of the stage, meaning what you can do outside your professional dimension. You are still a citizen. You're still a member of the community, of your community, and it's not just about your work. It doesn't mean that you contribute to the community 100% just making a concert in a theater, It's like saying, okay, I work in the bank, this is how I contribute to my community. I go every morning at work, and that's it. We know it's not just about that. If you want to be a good citizen, it's not just about doing your work. And sometimes we have this idea that art is more than just a work, And people love to say, and I've been a violinist for years, so I've been growing myself with this mentality. Art is, such an elevation for everyone. I am better than the others that does a normal work, etc., etc., etc. What I'm trying to say is, before complaining about the private sector, the public sector, the government, the institutions, the media, let's understand how we, from the inside of the artistic community, we can do more. We can make a difference. For instance, to help our friends in Mosul. How much are we talking about this in Europe, for instance? Very little. And we need the politicians to remind us that there is this situation. I don't think so, no? It's really about how much we are going to be active, not just as artists, but also as citizens, meaning how much we are ready to invest time, energy beside our own career, beside our own projects, how we can join forces I spent the last 2 days talking about cultural diplomacy in a beautiful setting in Salzburg with participants coming from all over the world, you know? Cultural diplomacy also, how we can make a change through cultural collaborations, how much European musicians could do to help you guys in Mosul, a lot. And it's not just about money, it's about, you know, saying, okay, let's do something together.
Yeah, sure. Because you have a thing I don't have, and the same thing. It's because our culture are different, so what we had are different. So I think it's will be amazing to do that.
While you were talking, Paulo, and while you also were talking, I was thinking about something completely different, but in the same direction of, and it's also the inspiration of the movement and the idea of dance, and what you mentioned, Jean, of people of disability who might not be able to make movements, but they move in their brains.
Mm-hmm.
I think, and probably Paul Marlier is already here and he can hear us. So here is an idea. There is this structure of the old houses of Mosul that are being reconstructed around the old city of Mosul and the old two historic sites, Al-Nouri Mosque and Al-Saa Church, or Notre Dame de l'Eau de Mosul. One of the challenges we were discussing is the social labels, that dance is not accepted in our culture, or music is not part of our culture, or what Paulo said, that the lack of information or the lack of interest in something that is not directly in our sphere. What if we design something that a dancer like you, Jean, is using the virtual reality to start jumping and dancing on top of those houses in Mosul? Wouldn't that also inspire the students of Yusuf to think that it's not just about music, is cultural thing. Music is a personal thing. It's about me. So why wouldn't I do all of this? That's actually the idea that what we mean by beyond the physical. You are in a space, Jean. You are not acting when you deal with cultural heritage on the ground. You are over the ground, and this is how you do. In this direction, how do you imagine the space of Mosul can be kind of like a playground for such ideas?
I think it's really interesting because Paul Marlier, who is here, and we are working with new technology all the time. For me, I have to be honest, at the beginning, I was like, I don't know, maybe it's a bad thing. And no, really no. If we use it as a friend, it's really important. And it's really important to share and to create and to educate and to give a chance also to people. It's not the way to be alone with a virtual reality and to be out of the society, but to create a new place and also a place to think. And I think that there are two important things in time of war. And maybe I can say it because I am working at UNESCO in Paris in the International Dance Council. And since the 24th of February, I am helping my Ukrainian colleague. I think there are two words. For me, there is the word of deconstruction, so which therefore led to a new construction. And maybe in this new construction, there is the new technologies, because we can make a bridge between past and future with technologies. And there is, for me, the second world is the isolation in time of war, the isolation of people, of artists, but also of monuments, of everything. And we must fight against this isolation to continue to create, to share, to communicate between a country in time of peace and country in time of war. And those technologies maybe can also help us to make this bridge, because the worst thing is to say, oh, it's time of war. I don't see you. Okay, maybe the city is destroyed, but we have to be here, and we have to communicate together. And for example, the event, the Museum Week, we done, and you have to do it also, Omar, was really important for me, because all the museums were there, and museum in Paris, but also in Odessa, in Kyiv, in Mosul. It's important to be together and to use those technologies also to continue and to create another world. I think so.
Amazing. We have very little time left. Paolo, if you would say like something in a few words in this very short time, in the same direction of how can we make all of this art and cultural heritage and bring the interest of, again, not just the young generation, but also to create this space as an active space, as a space of enjoyment. You can enjoy, but you can also profit from this, and you can enhance your own thinking about it.
I think it's time for courage. For courage, we need more creativity on the leadership level. If you think, I'm so surprised about how much we are scared in the cultural sector to make a change, to innovate, to explore, to disrupt, which is so, really surprising, guys. If you imagine how much we are evolving, developing, innovating in the technological sector, how much we are evolving in culture. Yes, of course, we have new music languages coming up. Fortunately, we have, new artistic languages. We have NFTs. Okay, but if you think about the amount of change in other sectors, I see culture going super slow. Why? I mean, we're always saying art is going to save the world. We have so many talents all over the place. Why we are not able to really make an impact, make a difference? And why also when we open a museum, when we open a theater, when we open a cultural center, this is not something really vibrant, something meaningful for the people of these communities. It's always something is going to be complicated. We need more money. Maybe we're not going to sell tickets. Why? And I think that one of the answers is because we are not involving. This is not coming from the community. This is not something that is happening with really strong intentions to make a difference through these projects. So, of course, there are luckily exceptions. I'm not saying that we can generalize. I'm not saying that this is the same everywhere. No, fortunately, we have a lot of positive experiences all over the world. Maybe we need to join more forces again among us cultural managers, operators, artists, and also to really, again, take action without waiting for the funds that has to come from the government. Let's try also alternative solutions here, guys. And money will come. Also one of the things that I'm always struggling with, especially, as Omar knows, I've launched the youth organization of UNESCO here in Italy, which brings together hundreds and hundreds of young activists and volunteers, basically. And we haven't started the project with a grant. We started this project actually by saying, okay, we are going to invest our time. We are going to join forces because we want to make a difference. We want to see a difference. So let's basically take action, guys, and do what is unexpected, I will say. Is not going to happen what we wish for if we don't take action on first person.
The association you mentioned, Paolo, is a great success, something I have witnessed firsthand, the amazing work they have been doing. There's also something important. Yes, indeed, there is a very slow development and a very shy development, if I would say, in the cultural sector. But there is also something important, and again, it takes me back to when we speak about it in a universal manner. I think I would have never imagined that such a conversation about the future of Mosul would ever happen just a few years ago, because we would never think about this. It's not part of the daily life. And it takes me to you, Yusuf. I acknowledge all of the difficulties and this impossible situation of music production in Mosul. But at the same time, when I look at it and when I want to advise the policymakers, I don't like go and invest in this. These people like Yusuf, are making the impossible in an impossible situation. So I see it as an opportunity for more investment to establish a more sustainable space to allow music to be more accepted in a city like Mosul. This is the type of ideas we want to hear, Yusuf, from people like you. We need to hear more and to see more of these activities. In a few words, sorry, I'm taking too much time of your precious time. In a few words, what would be your message to the policymakers?
Well, I think that here there's big energies can make if anyone came, because people here after the war they want a chance to change or to do something different. They was, they never saw the world from the outside. So I think that even after the war, there's a lot there is a different of thinking of people, because I know that if I made this project, music teaching, after the war, it's gonna be mess, and it's gonna be so hard to encourage young people to come and to learn music and to make it happen. So I think that I'm sure that it's gonna work, because young people want chance to learn and to explore the world through the art and through music and through dance also, because dance here is like there's no dance, none. Music, maybe there we have some people that want to be a musician and make a musician, but dance, it's like forbidden. So I'm sure that it's not gonna be lost of time if we make projects of art here, because I'm talking of through my experience about it.
Thank you so much, Yusuf. Jean, your closing remarks.
Okay, I just would like to say thank you so much to you, and you are so brave, Yusuf. It's so important to play music in Mosul, really. Thank you for that. And we don't have to forget that in another time, you were the center of the world, of the culture. And everything is changing. I'm sure that a better world is coming for Mosul, because it's not that people won't play music or dance or practice art because maybe they are just afraid. But in another time, you were so important in Iraq for the culture. And I just want to say something to the end. My mentor is an astronaut. His name is Jean-François Clairvoy. And he said to me that when you see the Earth from the International Space Station, you have the feeling that this is your ship. You are in a spaceship. And every citizen, as you said, Paolo, every citizen in the spaceship is important. Everybody is important. There is no first then third. or first violin, everybody has his role. And he were in this station and he saw the earth and he said that, it's the same thing on the earth. Everybody is important, every city, every citizen. So maybe we are in the most beautiful spaceship in the universe because there is life here. So we have to be really more clever and to forget borders, to forget the war, and to work together, because everybody is important. Every music is important and every city is important.
Thank you. To me, closing with these remarks, having Mosul, Paris, and Rome discussing cultural heritage recovery and future, personally, to me, this is a great recovery. And I hope this will continue. Thank you so much for your time, Paulo, Yusur, and John, and hopefully we meet in another occasion. Thank you so much for your time. And I apologize for the audience for not having any questions from them, but I wanted to ask more questions. And I really have more other questions, but we are out of time. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye. Bye.
See you soon in Paris.
Ciao.